All right, let's move on to episode 4 of Tales of the Jedi. This one is called The Sith Lord, the final episode of the Dooku arc, and easily, by far and away, my favorite episode of the Tales of the series that we've gotten so far. Now, remember when I said that I had only seen these episodes once? Well, I lied. This is the one that I actually watched more than once because when I watched this one, I was like, oh my God, I need to see this again. I need to show this to people. I actually showed this episode to my girlfriend at one point because I was just so excited. I was like, I need to show you this. This is awesome. So the episode starts by showing that Dooku is going into the Jedi archives and he is deleting Kamino under the name of Cypher Diaz. And we only heard that this happened in Attack of the Clones, but seeing it is something else. And I was actually very satisfied to see this. I was like, oh, you're scratching an itch that I've had for a very long time. So that was very cool to see. And it turns out that actually this episode takes place during the events of the Phantom Menace because Qui-Gon has come to Coruscant, back from Tatooine, where he says that he faced a Sith Lord. And yeah, like this really shows how it connects to the movies. And I really love that because whenever we heard about Cypher Diaz and the creation of the clones and everything in Attack of the Clones, they say 10 years ago. And 10 years ago from Attack of the Clones is also when Phantom Menace takes place. So I'm like, wow, that was taking place at around the same time. And I love to see the connection between that because this is what Star Wars has been doing a lot, actually in animation. But also just in general, I feel they have been trying to fix canon and make the connections work well. Like also when Ahsoka and Rex are alive during Revenge of the Sith, and I had been wondering, like, how the hell are they alive at that time, but not involved with the events of Revenge of the Sith? And then we have the final arc of the Clone Wars, and it explains it all, and I'm like, that's fucking brilliant. The same here, like, oh, so Dooku was doing all of this while Qui-Gon was off on Naboo and Obi-Wan, that kind of stuff with the Phantom Menace. So those connections are just brilliant, and I really love that. I mean, it actually also shows how we see Yaddle in the council in one of the scenes, and then we don't see her later on. I'm getting ahead of myself. I should wait with this. This is a very painful and heartbreaking moment. I'll get to it later. But speaking of Yaddle, she is talking to Qui-Gon Jinn, who now is voiced by Liam Neeson, because now it's the grown-up version. So, of course, Liam Neeson came back to voice him. And I was actually surprised that Yaddle was voiced by Bryce Dallas Howard, because when I heard her speak, she does not sound like Bryce Dallas Howard. So actually goes to show that Bryce Dallas Howard has some talent with voice acting. So good on her. And yeah, this is the first time that we actually hear Yaddle speak. And the interesting part about that as well was Yaddle speaks with normal grammar. She doesn't have the weird grammar that Yoda has. So is that just something that Yoda does? Like, there's still so much mystery about the species, and I don't want any explanation. I honestly don't. That's like one of the things in Star Wars where I'm like, I don't want an explanation to Yoda's species. So this is just a cool little nugget, you know? But anyway, Qui-Gon and Yaddle meet with Dooku. They talk a little bit about what's going on, and then they literally and figuratively part ways because they all go their separate ways. And that's actually the last time that Dooku and Qui-Gon see each other, because after that, Qui-Gon is off to Naboo, and there he dies, because in the very next scene after the title card shows, it's clear that Qui-Gon is dead, and they need to go to his funeral on Naboo. But Dooku refuses. Dooku is like, yeah, no, this was the Council's fault. I definitely blame them, and I'm not going to be good company if I'm going to go. But actually, Dooku is going to see Palpatine, and the moment that his ship pulls out of the hangar, it's just like in Revenge of the Sith when Anakin does the same. And again, poetry it rhymes, because it's very much like this is a Jedi who's on the brink of falling to the dark side, and then he goes to meet with Palpatine, and shit goes down, and he accidentally makes sure that a Jedi is killed in the process, and then they go dark side. It's Anakin and Dooku, the exact same, and this shot, you know, is the exact connection point between them. And when Dooku and Yaddle, who's following him, go for Palpatine, and they're just flying over Coruscant, and the score by Kevin Kiner is yet again so fucking brilliant that I'm like, thank you, Kevin Kiner, for all that you do. Your score is always amazing, and I bow down to you. Like, oh my God, it's just excellent. And it just pulls the entire episode together, the score, you know? So Dooku meets with Palpatine, and Dooku's angry because he's like, well, Maul killed Qui-Gon. That was not really supposed to happen. Qui-Gon was a good friend of mine. I'm going to miss him. So yeah, it actually does show Dooku does care about Qui-Gon. And at this point, it's not entirely clear yet if Dooku is going to turn. And then Yaddle also steps in and tries to convince him, but unfortunately, he pulls his lightsaber and he's like, no, it's too late. I'm gone. And they fight. And I actually think this is a really good fight because it clearly shows that Dooku is the stronger lightsaber combatant and that Yaddle has issues with dealing with him. So Yaddle tries to avoid him as much as possible, but in the meantime, Yaddle tries talking to him, tries to convince him, like, come on, come back to the light. I know you have it in you. And I really love the lightsaber sequences where it's not just action for the sake of action. There's also some dialogue going on. There's also some deeper stuff going on between the characters. But unfortunately, Dooku can't be convinced by her, and he eventually gets the better of her. He drops the door on her, and when we all think that it's over, no, Yaddle, still powerful enough, like we've seen several Force users do this as well. She lifts up the door, but it pretty much takes all of her strength because she barely gets out and drops on the floor, and she's like, okay, I don't have the strength to do this. All she can really do at that point is plead for her life, plead for Dooku to come back to the good side. But he's, of course, never going to do that. And he kills her, which is one of the most heartbreaking deaths, honestly, in Star Wars. And the thing is, we never really knew Yaddle based on the movies or anything else. I only knew Yaddle through this episode in terms of, like, hearing her talk. I've never heard her talk before. This was the only thing. And I care so much about this because in this one episode, they make me care so much about her and about, like, why she wants Dooku to be good. Oh my God, it's heartbreaking, but it's such a goddamn good episode. Holy fucking shit. Come on. I just need to say it. I just have to. I'm like, oh, this was an episode. My God. Because to me, this episode enhances the Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones even more. Like the way that I was able to tie into the movies, and also the fact that, Yaddle we only see in the council sequences in the Phantom Menace. We actually don't see her on Naboo because at the end with the celebration and Qui-Gon's funeral, she isn't there. She's not in those scenes. And now it makes perfect sense that she's not in that because just before that, she actually was killed. Like, damn, it's such a mindfuck, honestly. Like, wow, the fact that they were actually able to tie it all together and explain all these things about the movies that I'm like, I didn't even know that I needed that explanation, but the episode did it anyway. I'm like, thank you, episode. I love you. And I just very much get the feeling that they made this entire show just to make this one episode because this one episode is worth the price of admission. I don't care about any of the others. This episode right here is the shit. Look, I'm still going to review all the rest of the episodes, and I still had a good time with the other episodes as well, but this one right here takes the cake by far and away. That's what I pretty much have to say about episode 4 of Tales of the Jedi. Now I just wonder, what are your thoughts? Do you have any issues potentially with this episode? Please let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Please consider subscribing to my channel where I talk about Star Wars all the time. I'm going to do reviews for the other 2 episodes of Tales of the Jedi in the next week, so look out for that. And after that, we're starting with The Acolyte, which I'm very excited for, so definitely stay tuned for that. Follow me on social media to stay updated with me and everything that I do. And until my next review, may the Force be with you.